In the headlines, Prime Minister Skerrit says democracy will prevail, while CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Rowley calls Wednesday's riot in the U.S. Capitol an affront to democracy and the rule of law. Calypso Association plans virtual Calypso Monarch competition despite the cancellation of Carnival celebrations this year. And the Bureau of Gender Affairs redoubles efforts to reduce domestic violence in Dominica. I'm Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News, back with the details after this.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has issued a statement on the developments in the United States on Wednesday. It reads, earlier on Wednesday, a joint sitting of the United States Congress formalized the election victory of President-elect Joe Biden, who is set to be sworn in later this month. We are encouraged that democracy will prevail in the United States in spite of the unfortunate scenes of insurrection which unfolded in the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday. Like the rest of the democratic world, we were astounded by the development, which was an open assault on long-established democratic norms, which has been a strong tradition in our region. The Prime Minister goes on, we look forward to a peaceful transfer of power in the United States on 20th January 2021. As the dominant power in our region, a strong, consistent, and reliable U.S. democracy is indeed in the interest of all of our nations in the Caribbean. In more top stories, a cancelled 2021 Calypso season, while the Calypso Association is planning a virtual Calypso Monarch competition. Julian Morris explains.
President of the Dominica Calypso Association made the announcement on Thursday that a virtual Calypso Monarch will be crowned on 13th February. Following the announcement of the cancellation of Carnival late last year, the Calypso Association had remained tight-lipped on its plans for 2021. Speaking to media on Thursday, President of the Association Davidson the Observer Victor said after discussion with the membership there will be 2 competitions staged this year.
What we felt that could work best for us is to allow Calypsonians to bring in their songs on CD. By the 15th of this month, January, we will have a panel of judges to select the songs from the CD, not a performance, just to listen and choose the songs. From that, if we have more than 30 Calypsonians, we will go through that process. We will do the selection and to select 30 Calypsonians. Then we will take that 30 Calypsonians and we'll go to the 30th of January to have a semi-final show competition. From the semi-finals, we will choose 15 Calypsonians to go to the final round, which will be held on the 13th of February.
According to Victor, Jude J.D. Deloney, who won the Calypso Monarch title last year, will reign until 2022. It will cost the Dominica Calypso Association an estimated $100,000 to host the 2 shows this year. Treasurer of the association, Narin Trendsetter Murphy, appealed to sponsors and the general public to give financial support this year.
The show this year is not going to be a show that is not going to cost us anything. As a matter of fact, what we know for a certain level of high certainty is what it's going to cost. We cannot speculate or with a large confidence what it is going to make. So it's going to call for aggressive promotion, vigorous pursuits of the social media and these opportunities that are available to ensure that this virtual event can become a reality. And if per chance COVID continues for another year, that we already have a platform that is established to undertake such.
The Old Mill Cultural Center is the venue selected to host the Calypso semi-finals on the 30th of January and finals on the 13th of February.
In more developments, the Bureau of Gender Affairs is engaging in concrete steps to reduce domestic violence in the country. On Thursday, the Bureau held a training session for new members of the Domestic Violence Hotline in an effort to strengthen support services for victims of gender-based violence. Acting Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Melissa Morgan, says it is imperative to develop reliable support systems for abuse victims in Dominica.
This training forms part of several initiatives we have ongoing to strengthen support services for survivors of gender-based violence and to ensure that there is no disruptions to services for survivors of gender-based violence whenever we are hit with a crisis, whether it's hurricanes, flooding, landslides, COVID-19, whatever the case may be.
The United Nations has described the increase in domestic abuse during the COVID-19 era as a shadow pandemic. Morgan says Dominica is well aware of the impact of crises on gender-based violence.
As you know, across Dominica, since the onset of Hurricane Maria in 2017, we have always been building towards resiliency. And resiliency means what exactly are we doing between now and the next impact of whatever disaster it is. What are we doing to ensure that our vulnerable populations, their needs are met during crisis? And this means ensuring that we have specialized services available for victims and survivors during times of crisis and all throughout the year. So healthcare, financial assistance, cash transfer programs, rehabilitation programs when necessary, skills training and other programs that can empower survivors, and programs that give voices to survivors and individuals who are vulnerable to violence and abuse.
The two-day training workshop ends on Friday. In more news, the action of Trump supporters in the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday has echoed across the globe, and the reaction has been swift condemnation of what some are calling an insurrection or an attempted coup. Dominicans here and overseas have been following the developments, and former press secretary under the Dominica Freedom Party, Parry Bellot, believes the United States president should face prosecution for his role in the unrest. Many believe the president's statements served to incite Wednesday's mob.
What's going on is one more mischievous action initiated by the person who was President of the United States, Donald Trump. An absolute apology as a president. I still hope that prosecutorial action will be taken for not only this incident, but so many incidents whilst he was there. Yet, he lost the election, never accepted that he has lost it, created a lot of doubt, a lot of fanaticism about his followers. No, we must not accept it because it's not. He doesn't even talk about a victory. He talked about it was a landslide victory. They have robbed him of. And of course, you would have heard a few days ago when he had called an electoral official, actually the Secretary of State, right. Georgia. Yes, to try and persuade him to find him. No. You know, I mean, this is unacceptable, cannot be acceptable, and there must therefore be punishment of some sort. Otherwise, who knows, we may get another, but we'll never get another Trump. I do not believe, although Americans have proved they are not smart, so many still voted for him. I don't believe we'll ever get quite another Trump.
Bellot says while their constitution supports the people's right to protest, they went too far. Initial reports indicated that there may have been at least 4 deaths related to Wednesday's protest.
You know, there is a procedure, all that part of the democratic process. At one time, I was even saying, but the protesters, democracy, they have a right to protest. And then more and more I became thinking, but no, it has been assured by, they did the right thing initially. They went to the courts. Not a single, they had about 51 appeals to defer, including the Supreme Court, where he had put some of his own people there and he said, no, there's nothing there. There's no evidence of any land fraudulent thing. The point is, when the election is shown to go one way, the other side concedes. You know, there was, if you recall, the issue when George Bush, the first time, George Bush II, when he was first elected, it was very close with Gore and so on. Actually went to the courts too. Yes. A lot of lawyers got and whatnot. At a certain point, they decided, no, it looked like we have to go, you know, with Bush on that one. Gore gave a brilliant conceding speech. Yes. That is what Americans expect.
The United States has been a strong promoter of democracy as the only viable political formula for a globalizing world. And this has become a key element of U.S. foreign policy until President Trump. Egypt, Libya, Yemen, and several other countries have seen democratic transitions initiated by the United States.
I have to believe that most people in the world, whether in poor countries or developing countries or what, understand what America has stood for in the past. The person that destroyed all that was Trump. He is not a typical president. He's an absolute rogue president. But they will take the opportunity to try and embarrass the States, because the States also had an attitude of preaching to the rest of the world. And they say, you want to preach? And they will quote all what happened in the arguments and so on, you know. So, so I don't take that for much. But I think everybody has learned lessons. But you know, the big dilemma is really for Biden now, when he comes. Does he take action against Trump?
You're watching the Channel 5 News. Coming up, leader of a local NGO says there are lessons Dominica can learn from Wednesday's events in Washington.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid. But there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
Welcome back. A wildlife audit on the cards for Dominica in 2021. Julian Morris tells us more.
This is among the plans of the Forestry Division to get an accurate count of the wildlife species and their locations around the country. According to Director of Forestry Minjinton Burton, consultants have already been identified to develop survey tools in line with the international standards. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has delayed this stage of the project.
The first part of the audit, which is for the design of the, because there has to be a scientific design of that particular survey. The consultants have already been hired. I think they're just waiting for, again, because of COVID, we had some issues with and I think with getting them, you know, on the ground and all that. So that have actually delayed. So we're hoping in the few months at least we can have the design, and then from that we can move to actually putting audit tenders to get relevant experts to come on the ground and design, you know, survey method based on international standards and so on, and scientific standards, how we go about so that we can actually get an idea as to what, you know, what is happening, and you know, with our wildlife on the ground, what are their population, the geographical locations, etc., you know.
The Forestry Director pointed out that the survey will be targeted to key species, as Dominica is home to several species of wildlife. He stressed that scientific data is important for developing strategies in the best interest of the country's wildlife population.
We have to identify what some of the key species that we want to, because you know you have such a large array of species. Some of our key species, for instance,
our signature parrot population, that we need to really have a true scientific. We do carry out some surveys we've been doing. We have noticed certain trends, especially post-Maria, certain declines here and there in some of the population, but we actually want to have a really scientific, so we know exactly geographical areas where they're located, have more accurate data. So we're working on that, hoping that we can have this, during this fiscal year, hopefully that this wildlife audit will be, and so that will probably give us better data to be able to make future decisions as to what we do for wildlife resources. Right? So that's on the cards.
The Forestry Division has had collaboration with international organizations with respect to some species and hopes to further develop these relationships.
With the mountain chicken, for instance, as I mentioned, since 2003 or so, we have been having collaboration with Zoological Society of London, Durrell, and a number of other scientific organizations and scientists across the world, because the amphibian chytrid fungus is something which not only in Dominica, it's wiped out amphibian populations worldwide. So there is this international consortium of scientists that we're working with, that they have also assisted us in building the facility at the Botanic Gardens and all of that. So we do have some of these partnerships. We've had partnerships in our parrot monitoring program, with rare species in Florida and one or two other organizations. So we're hoping to develop that as we go along.
President of Civic Vibes, Loftus Dura, has condemned the violence of Wednesday's attack on the heart of democracy in the United States. Protesters in support of U.S. President Donald Trump swarmed the Capitol building, forcing officials to order lawmakers to shelter in place and halting debate in both the House and Senate. Congress was meeting to confirm President-elect Joe Biden's Electoral College victory. Dura believes Wednesday's riot is a symptom of much deeper problems which need to be addressed.
Whatever it was yesterday that transpired yesterday in Washington, D.C., I for sure, as the head of Civic Vibes, would want to condemn what happened in terms of the violence that we saw there, basically the intimidation that we saw there from a number of different persons. That in and out of itself is just the fruit of some other underlying issues, and I think it is left to the American people, especially their leaders, to look a bit deeper at what is happening, especially where their democratic principles or policies are concerned. Because we well know America is one of the countries that, quote unquote, other countries or other persons look forward to put peace around the world. And if as a bastion of democracy, as you call yourself, you cannot even, how I should say it, look at your own business and put your house in order, then that says something to me and to the other persons around the world.
Dura says in any democracy, people must have their voices heard.
And what happened yesterday, I believe it's more of an underlying problem that is there, that if left unchecked, much more can happen. There's the propensity that much more can happen. So there are lessons. Yes, there are much lessons. And even driving, I'm coming back home. We call ourselves a democracy in Dominica, but as I said before, there are a number of persons, there are a number of organizations who really cannot lend their voice or voices to that kind of democracy that we expose about. And so they say in Patois, Kamawadu Bab Puidife Pon Glo Epi Wuze Sao, meaning when your neighbor's house is on fire, take water and wet yours. And so today is America's turn. We are seeing what is happening. In Dominica as well, if what is happening, if the trajectory we are on as a so-called democracy is not looked at or looked into, then maybe what happened in America yesterday, Dominica's situation may just be like a walk in the park for what happened in America yesterday. So we too have to take the necessary precautions and ensure that our house is in order where rights and responsibilities are concerned.
Chairman of CARICOM, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, has issued a statement on the situation in the United States. He says the Caribbean community, CARICOM, is deeply saddened and concerned at the unprecedented scene that unfolded at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., USA, during the certification of the votes of the presidential election by the U.S. Congress. He goes on, the storming of the United States Congress was a gross affront to democracy and the rule of law in a country which has been viewed as a leading light of representative governance in the world over. He concluded by saying, CARICOM looks forward to the restoration of order and the continuation of the process of transfer of power in a peaceful manner.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid. But there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
To end the news, the headlines again. Prime Minister Skerrit says democracy will prevail, while CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Rowley calls Wednesday's riots on U.S. Capitol an affront to democracy and the rule of law. The Calypso Association to host a virtual Calypso Monarch competition despite the cancellation of Carnival 2021. And the Bureau of Gender Affairs redoubles efforts to reduce domestic violence in Dominica. Feel free to access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis. And to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.